So, welcome to the weekly update for May 26th, 2021. For this weekly update, it is special because we have a special guest with us. And we're going to talk about community ministry and this interesting new opportunity that First Parish in Framingham has. So, I'll let my guest introduce himself, and then we will move on through some questions.
Good week. I am the Reverend Mr. Barb Greve, who grew up in First Parish in Framingham, and am delighted to be with you this morning, or maybe afternoon, depending on what time you're watching this.
Yes, exactly. And Barb, you were telling me that yesterday was your 35th anniversary of joining First Parish in Framingham. Did I remember that
You
right?
you got that right. Yeah, thank you, Aaron.
Awesome.
35 years and a day ago,
Yes.
I
Yeah.
signed the membership book of Framingham at the age of 15. It was new for me and the congregation, but one of the most important decisions I've made in my life. It has
Great.
taken me on amazing adventures.
Yeah. So we, First Parish in Framingham ordained you. When did we ordain you? Last year. What was the date on that?
Just this Sunday will be the 1 year anniversary.
Great. So what a great way to celebrate 1 year of ordained ministry. You've been doing ministry for so much longer than that. Um, and you'll be preaching
Yes.
the YouTube service. And you're doing this thing called community ministry, which I know what it means. Um, but I think others have no idea what community ministry is. We only think of parish ministry when we think of ministry, which is to all of our detriments. What is community ministry? What does it mean to you?
For me, it's an extension of our parish ministry. It's an extension of Unitarian Universalist ministry. It comes in many forms. I think we most often see it in the form of ministers who are working in nonprofits or for social justice movements and extending the ministry of a congregation out into the community. And there are other forms of community ministry. Certainly, our ordained clergy who work at the UUA or work at the regional level are doing community ministry. Those that are in seminaries and teaching are doing community ministries. And like myself, those of us that are doing healthcare chaplaincy is an extension of our community ministries. And that's what I'm doing now. I've been doing a hospice chaplaincy for several years now. And it's good to have that be a part of my ministry and by extension, your ministry.
Great. Yes, you already started to answer my next question, but do you want to share a little bit more about what your community ministry is?
Sure. So I serve as a hospice chaplain, which I think a lot of times we think of peaceful and quiet and sitting by the bedside with people so that they're not alone when they're dying. And that's certainly a big part of what I do. But a bigger part, I think, and what often gets forgotten is the work that happens with families when somebody we love is dying. I spend most of my time helping families come to grips with the fact that somebody they love is dying or make arrangements either around having somebody at home so they can die in their own setting. So sometimes that's as simple as helping them find caregiving resources. Sometimes it's about helping figure out mortuary and what happens with somebody's body as they die or after they die. And another part, and one of my favorite parts of the work, is working with families after somebody has died and providing grief counseling.
Hmm. Um, So we, a couple of weeks ago, the board voted as part of their consent agenda package to have you join, isn't the right word, but become our affiliated community minister. What does affiliating with First Parish in Framingham mean to you?
On a global sense, I think it's important for any community minister to have a home base, if you will. Oftentimes, that is, in a geographically local congregation, though the brilliance of what we've learned through this year of pandemic and moving to technologically based ministry is that we're not geographically bound anymore. For me, First Parish in Framingham has always been a spiritual home base, and affiliating as a community minister and being able to provide support to the congregation, to your ministry, as well as to have a excuse me, a tether to the best of who I can be and the best my ministry can be is essential to me feeling like I'm doing good work in the world.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. And it's also part of the preliminary fellowship process that
Right.
you do have to be affiliated with a congregation. And that's kind of, for those who don't know, ministers, I like to describe it, there are three different parts of becoming a minister. There's the seminary education, usually with a master's of divinity. There's the ecclesiastical, denominational affiliation and kind of sign off the credentialing, which is the preliminary fellowship process. And then there's ordination, which in our tradition happens in a local congregation. So once someone has done those pieces and they're in preliminary fellowship, and there might be stuff in this that's old, but someone needs to get 3 renewals in preliminary fellowship in order to move on to full fellowship. And those periods of preliminary fellowship, for those watching at home, is kind of deeper reflection and evaluation with people who know a minister's own setting. In a community ministry situation, there's also a requirement to meet with a mentor on a monthly basis and a commitment to continuing education. So we're going to have a few members from our congregation serve on Barb's preliminary. What did we decide to call it? We had a really great name, and I'm totally
We
blanking on
did.
it right now.
Yeah, I'm not
Was it
either. We'll have to.
Acme?
Well,
No, that was something
that
else.
was for
That's,
the
yeah,
title. Yep.
right, yeah, yeah. So
Team.
I forget what it
Yeah, we'll have
was.
to release it at some point.
We'll put it in the subtitles right now, and we'll dig that up in our emails. So I think did I get the preliminary fellowship stuff right? Is that your understanding?
That's my understanding too.
Okay.
And just to go back to the that committee whose name we cannot remember, in recognition of the ministries that I've had and will continue to have both at the local and national levels, that committee will be made up of a couple of people from First Parish, a couple of people who do hospice or healthcare chaplaincy, and a couple of people who either I've served with at the denominational level or are serving at that level now, recognizing that my ministry has always been multifaceted. And
Yeah.
it's one of the things that I really appreciate about both First Parish and the way you and I have moved into this partnership, in that that's an important piece of what calls me to ministry and calls me to our faith.
Definitely. So the final question is, what does affiliating with First Parish in Framingham mean to us as a congregation and to our wider movement?
Yeah, I think for the congregation, it's an opportunity to support my ministry and the development of ministry. You know, the congregation has a long history of being a teaching congregation. And this is another way in which we teach. On a practical level, what it means is that I'll preach probably once or twice a year, and you and I will figure out the dates. This coming Sunday, just to put a plug in, will be one of them. I'll also probably teach a class or run a group. I'm very interested in helping people prepare for dying, since we know we're all going to die. And so using the skills that I've gotten through my training and my day-to-day work, that becomes an opportunity for the congregation to delve into.
Great.
Yeah.
And we're in the midst of budget season, so this is no financial commitment on our part. So don't worry about that, First Parishioners. But this, because Barb is getting paid through other work. So just want to put that in as a don't worry about this. So anything else that I forgot? Anything else that you want to say about community ministry or First Parish in Framingham or anything like that?
Well, I was reflecting yesterday on just this 35 years since becoming a member and thinking about how I got to where I am. And one of the things that I realized is the importance that being raised in a multi-generational community had on the impact it had on my life, and that wouldn't have happened had it not been for elders who didn't have children at home teaching in our RE program and inviting me to congregational meetings and to sit with them in worship, and that it wasn't just my parents dragging me to church, but the whole community saying, we want you here.
Mhm.
And I think sometimes we forget that in our seeking of meeting our own needs. We forget that there are times when we have the energy to offer the whole community the gift of our person. And I just
Yeah,
encourage folks to get involved. Church can change your life. It
yeah,
certainly has changed mine.
yeah. That's
Other
wonderful.
than that, I'm deeply grateful to be able to maintain a relationship with this congregation, and have been appreciative that over the years that relationship has changed, and yet there's always been a core tenant that started when you all dedicated me.
Mm, wonderful. Well, we are, I I wasn't here, but I'm proud that we ordained you, that we're your home congregation, and excited to see what having an affiliated community minister will add to our congregation. Um, I haven't had the chance to serve a congregation that has an affiliated community minister. I've always wanted one, just because I think having that outreach from our congregation really means a lot. It extends the ministry, and it's a really fantastic opportunity that we at First Parish have. Um,
And
so
it's a great opportunity for me, and hopefully in the future anyone else who becomes an affiliated minister to the congregation. It's not to talk about church as an octopus, but I feel like I'm one of the tentacles that's
yeah,
out there now.
right, great,
Yeah. And a great, I want to name the benefit of the support that I can offer to you, whether it's taking a Sunday to preach so you get a Sunday off, or just another person to talk with. um, that I have found, and I suspect you have found this too, ministry is a lot more fun when you've got more people involved.
yeah. Great. Well, this would be the time when I would normally share announcements. I don't think we have any. Just be on the lookout for the annual meeting warrant. Our annual meeting is June 13th. Barb is preaching, Reverend Mr. Barb Greve is preaching this Sunday. The following Sunday is our Youth Sunday, which will look a little different because we can't really have folks sleep over at the church. So Rebecca and I are planning that. And beyond that, I guess, First Parishioners, I'll see you when I see you next. And Barb, will you be able to join us for the coffee hour after, or is that way too early in the morning for
It
you?
it may be way too early for me. I'm gonna
Okay.
try, but I
Yeah.
make no
Okay.
promises.
Great.